Okay, 2011, drawing detail question 1. We'll have a read through the question first of all, and we'll discuss the keywords and see what it's supposed to look like from there. So the main external doorway of a dwelling house is designed to facilitate access for everyone, including a person with reduced mobility, as shown in the sketch. The door is a frame wooden door with 12mm thick vertical sheeting on both sides. The door frame is 150 by 70mm and is fixed to a 350mm external concrete block wall with an insulated cavity. The house has an insulated solid concrete ground floor with a 20mm quarry tile finish. To a scale of 1 to 10, draw a vertical section through the centre of the door. The section should show the typical construction details from 500mm below finished floor level through the threshold, the door frame and the external wall to a level 300mm above the concrete lintels of the door frame. Part B, show on the drawing the design detailing that ensures that rainwater is removed from the threshold area. So basically, often difficult to kind of understand what's been drawn there. The paragraph of writing can be very off-putting. It's just a matter of having a rough idea in your head of what detail they want you to draw and then fine-tune it based on the information here. So we can see that it's an external doorway. So we've drawn the external doorway a number of times now at this stage. So we should have a rough idea what the external doorway is like in our head. If we don't, we can check in our book still. From there, we just need to fine tune it, as I said. So I'm going to underline some of the key words and go from there. So external doorway of a dwelling house is designed to facilitate access for everyone, including a person with reduced mobility. Not very important. That's the same as any door. The door is a framed wooden door. So it's a framed wooden door. There are different types of door with 12mm thick vertical sheeting. The door frame is 150, so this is important. The door frame is 150 by 70 and is fixed to a 350mm external concrete block wall with an insulated cavity. So we can see there we're dealing with a concrete block wall, not a timber frame wall. It's often, these details are often either a timber frame wall or a concrete block wall. You should know what either of those look like in a drawing detail. It has an insulated solid concrete ground floor. That is basically means a normal concrete floor that we've always drawn, and a 20mm quarry tile finish, so it's got tiles on top. To a scale of 1 to 10, very important to get our scaling right. Draw a vertical section through the centre of the door. The section should show typical construction details from 500mm below finished floor level. 500mm below will not bring us down to foundation level, so we don't actually have to draw the foundation here. Sometimes people draw the foundation. If you do, look, you're not going to lose marks, but you are just wasting time. To the threshold. The threshold is the part of the door that you walk over when you walk into it. That's usually a concrete sill. The door frame and the external wall to a level 300mm above the concrete lintels over the door frame. Alright, so as I said, there should be a rough idea in your head what a solid concrete floor looks like, a solid concrete wall looks like, and a door threshold. So it's a matter of just drawing that up and following this information as well. I'm going to sketch our way through it first of all, and I'll show you the final detail then. The best way to go about these details, people often ask, where do I start, or how do I know where to start? The best way to approach them is to draw them as if you're building it. Okay, start in a place where you think the builder would start, and that is often at the bottom. All right, they can't build the top without building the bottom, and it's always the best place to start is to start as if you're building this yourself. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to draw a cavity wall. Okay, everything I do first as well would be lightly done with the pencil. Just make sure it says to go 500mm below ground level, so that's 50mm when scaled down. So just make sure you leave a little bit more than 50 just to be sure. There's the external leaf, there's the internal leaf. Again, as I said, just drawing it lightly to start off. I'm going to draw a line across there, and I'm going to start working my way down here and build up the solid concrete insulated ground floor that they've asked for. So 150mm down for your cavity, or for your concrete slab, 100mm insulation, 40mm sand blinding. Again, I'm doing it all lightly for the moment. 150mm layers of hardcore. I'll draw in 2 of those. Now, that will bring us down plenty below 500. We've got 150, we've 100, we've 40, we've 150, and we've 150. So we're well below 500 at this stage. We have some insulation running down the side there. We get the symbols for our insulation into place. Sand blinding is just dots. And our layer of hardcore, 2 layers. Concrete. And as the question asked, there is your solid concrete insulated ground floor. The quarry tile finish is going to go on top of this. I'm going to wait till I get my door drawn in before I actually put that into place. Right, I'm going to just draw in position of some blocks here. They're 225, so we go 22.5 for each of those. Again, this is all done lightly first of all, because I'll be rubbing parts of it out as I build up the drawing. When it comes to the concrete threshold, we have a concrete block sill poured in here. So what I will do there is I'll rub out this top block, dig that out, and the concrete sill is basically put into place. It's resting on this wall. There's a little ramp there for ease of access, as the question mentioned, and we have a big block of concrete that's poured into place. It goes across the door. That's the threshold of the door, or a concrete sill. Ground level outside will be here. Just outside the door we have a drainage channel, and that is basically something that will help take away the rainwater from the front of the house that pours off the door, or just off the front of the house. If you go to the front door of your house, most of you will probably see like a silver or a black kind of a grill going across the front of the door, and that's what it is. That's the grill across there, and underneath you've got a drain which just takes away the rainwater. The concrete footpath leading up to the doorway. You can go 150mm there, but there's room for variation on that. That's pretty much the bottom of the detail. We have infill concrete there as well to support the underside of the wall. Now, before I draw the door in, I would actually go to the top now and just build up the position of the top of the wall. Obviously the wall must line up perfectly with the wall below. So I'll just extend lightly, very, very lightly, the inner leaf, the position of the outer leaf. The question does not specify how tall the door needs to be, so you can just do an estimation that yourself. I'm going to keep it relatively short just for the sake of fitting into the video screen. I'd go possibly a little bit higher than that, but there's room for variation on that. I'm going to extend that up. I'm going to go 2 blocks higher just to cover my 300mm. But as we know, on top of a door or a window we have a set of lintels which will support the wall above the door or window. I'll draw a block there and another block there, so that will bring us plenty above our 300. Insulation. So the question says it's an insulated cavity wall. It doesn't say if it's full fill or anything like that, so we'll just do a normal insulated cavity wall. Sometimes they say full fill insulation. If you draw either, you're fine with that. And the cavity, the question says, is 300. Is the whole wall is a 350mm cavity wall. That means 100 here, 150 here, and 100 here. Always at the top of a window or a door, they have an extra bit of insulation there just to help prevent thermal bridging at that junction. We'll do radon on the EPC at the end. From there, it's just a case of drawing in the door. We're just going to get the sizes of the door again because there are some specifics on this. It's a wooden framed door with 12mm thick vertical sheeting on both sides. The door frame is 150 by 70 and it's fixed into place. So we will go to the top there. Position of the door frame can often be a question for people. There's room for variation there. I mean, the door frame, it's 150mm, the cavity is 150, so in this case I'll just draw it across the cavity. You know, usually I like to start my door frame on that point there, and however far across it goes. If the cavity is wider, that's fine. We can just put a cavity closer there or whatever. I would draw a square 150 by 70. So 70, 150. That's the door frame in place. Now, the door needs to slot into that, so a little slot needs to come out of that. It doesn't say how wide the door is, so a standard size for the width of an external door would be 60 mils. So I would go across approximately 60, go up a little bit there, and go across there. How far up here did I go? Around halfway. There's room for variation there. It depends on the door manufacturer. And again, 60 mil is usually a decent size for an external door to go into place. And that's the door frame. Sometimes people like to draw a little angle there just for the design of the door frame. You can if you want. The reality is the question has asked for a 150 by 70 mil door frame. That means it needs to be 150 wide and 70 mil high. After that, you can put in the designs on it yourself. The door needs to close into that. So from there, so that's the fixed door frame. That's fixed to the upper part of the wall. It's screwed into place. From there, I would just extend. Bring this back a bit. I would extend a line straight down there. I would extend the line straight down here, and that's the door. I'm going to rub out those lines now just to avoid confusion with the wall. And that's the door in place. Now it says it's got a vertical sheeting on both sides, 12 mil. So I go in a millimeter, draw a line down there, in a millimeter, and draw a line down there. We've drawn a door like this with insulation inside it. The question does not specify that there's insulation inside it, so we can just leave that out if we need to. That's the majority of the detail done. It's a matter now of getting your quarry tile finish into place. It says a 20 mil quarry tile finish, so 2 millimeters up. Just draw the tiles and go all the way to the door if you like. That's the tiles in place. We have DPC. I'll just do a black pen. DPC runs up the front of that there, across and over that block. We have DPC is wrapped completely around the bottom of that sill to avoid water travelling up. We have radon barrier runs across the top of the sand blinding. Oops. Across the top of the sand blinding. Up that first block, underneath the tile, back down, and across underneath there as well. And that's that. At this point, you need to get your labels in. Each year, the amount of labels they ask for in the marking scheme can vary. It's often somewhere between 10 and 12, so I'd always encourage you to draw 13 or 14 labels in place just to make sure you get yourself covered on that. So label away, don't spend ages on it, just get your labeling done as quick as you can. Sometimes in the question it asks for, it says include 4 typical dimensions. Now people sometimes confuse that for just 4 labels. No, it means 4 dimensions and the rest can just be labels. Alright, I'll just show you the proper drawn up solution there now to go from there. So this is what it should look like. My detail on top, you can see what we sketched into place. We've got all our labels on that. The door, one thing I forgot on my sketch actually is a piece of wood across the top, a piece of wood across the middle, and a piece of wood across the bottom. That just kind of gives a bit of framework for the wooden door. Come down maybe 100 millimeters for that. I forgot to include that in my in the sketch. Coming down to the floor there, you can see everything that we did is just as it was. And part B is always a simple, just an arrow and a little label. Part B of the question said, we'll just get that out. Show on the drawing the design detailing that ensures that rainwater is removed from the threshold area. That is simply part B, slope on the threshold for rainwater to run away, drainage channel to take the rainwater away. There's 2 little design details to help take the rainwater away. That's part B done. So it's always like a little 5 marker at the end. All right. So have a look at that and have a go at the question.